Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you about the basics of air brakes, CDL air brakes, and how to get your CDL air brakes. And that's what we're going to talk about today here and get you going with your CDL air brakes. And we also have a checklist over at the Smart Drive Test website, and we'll give that link to you as well. So stick around. We'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Welcome back. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about the basics of your CDL air brake ticket so that you can start a career as a truck or bus driver. So Big Money Boss is here. Hello, Big Money Boss. We have not seen you forever. Are you still in Las Vegas there? Is that where you're living now? And June is here. Corey's here, Bricks for Wheels. Corey is the moderator, and Corey is in Manitoba, Winnipeg, Manitoba. How is the weather in Winnipeg, Corey? Let me know. Colin is here. He said he was here. He's tuning in, but he's in English class. I'm not sure why he has English class on Sunday, but anyway, here he is. Michael's here as well. Thanks for letting me know that the audio and the video is working well, Corey. Yes, and Michael's here. And actually, just bear with me 1 second. I'm a little washed out here on the video, so I'm just going to pull down the brightness a little bit. Let's see how that goes. There we go. So yeah, we'll try that, and we're gonna get going here. And so, Big Money Boss, you're in California now, going to school. That's excellent. Mecca's here. Island Girl is from here. Hello from Texas. Yes, and Island Girl, thank you so much for that. Interesting that you're Island Girl from Texas. Interesting. That's great. And yeah, if you're just tuning in to Smart Drive Test, let us know where you are in the world and what class of license that you're going for. All of that's going to help you out, help me out to answer questions and get you going on anything that you need to do for your road test and whatnot. H3 is here as well, and oh, it's a tutoring program for Colin there. Awesome. So English tutoring, excellent. And Corey, actually, it's warm. It's relative. It's -7. Well, Corey, where I'm from, we don't call that relatively warm. We call that downright cold. So -7 for those of you in the States, -7 degrees Celsius is about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's pretty cold there. And Angel's here, Maritha's here, Mika's here. Just got my CDL this Friday. Excellent. Congratulations, Mika. Which class of vehicle were you going for, Mika, that you got your CDL license? So there we go. Fayetteville, North Carolina. Excellent. That's really great. So tuning in there. And from Colorado, Angel is. Calgary, Alberta, soon to be based in British Columbia. So Colin is moving here to British Columbia. And Kit, Krista, lots of people here. So excellent. Lots of comments, lots going on here. And yeah, so we're going to get going with the PowerPoint presentation. I'll spend about 10 or 15 minutes on the PowerPoint presentation. And then I'll come back and I'll answer any questions that people have, both about air brakes, CDL air brakes, getting a CDL, what you need to do for that as well. I'll answer any questions you have about passing a road test. And Boss Babe, passed road test first time. Congratulations on that. That is absolutely excellent. And Cheat, Dika, morning, sir. Morning from you. Where are you in the world that it is morning time for you? Yes, where Corey lives in Winnipeg, Manitoba, -7 is considered t-shirt weather. Not so much for those of us in British Columbia and other parts of the world where we have more temperate climate. And Ryan is here. Hello, Ryan. Ryan is in Ontario, southwestern Ontario there. So that's really great. So yes. So just bear with me. I'll get through the PowerPoint presentation here, and we'll move on with that, and then I'll answer questions, and we will chat more in the questions after the PowerPoint presentation. So, CDL air brakes, start your career as a truck or bus driver, and you're going to need air brake endorsement to drive either one of those vehicles that is fitted with air brakes. And air brakes explained simply. I have finally got this up. This book took far too long to get done and get up, but I'm finally happy to say that after more than a year, I finally got it up, and it's available over at the Smart Drive Test website. And right now, it's on special for $17. So you can head over there and pick up this manual if you are doing your CDL air brakes, and this will guarantee to help you pass your CDL air brakes. So page down, there we go, and let us know where you're tuning in from, and let us know what vehicle you are getting air brakes for, whether it's a bus, a truck, single unit, or tractor trailer, or RV unit, because here in British Columbia, in the province of British Columbia and other jurisdictions, if it has air brakes, if the vehicle is fitted with air brakes, you have to get an air brake endorsement. So for those of you who are new to Smart Drive Test, consider subscribing. Hit that thumbs up button as well. Leave a comment. All of this helps us out and gets the word out across social media to help people pass the road test, veteran drivers to remain crash free, and CDL drivers to start a career as a truck or bus driver. My name is Rick August. And I've been in the industry for a very long time, more than a couple of decades now. I was a truck driver in the 1990s. When I moved to Australia in the early 2000s, I drove for Greyhound in the regional bus lines there, so I have bus experience as well. In 1997, I became a licensed CDL driving instructor, and so I've been a driving instructor for more than 2 decades with an expertise, oddly enough, in air brakes. 2006, I graduated from the University of Melbourne in Australia with my doctorate, and my doctorate is in legal history. For those of you who don't know, legal history is the study of policing, courts, and prisons, and my expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. And then 3 years ago to this month, I started full-time, well, not full-time, but I started doing the Smart Drive Test website and putting up 2 videos a week, and that's my goal for this year. I'm already behind on my resolution of getting 2 videos up a week on the Smart Drive Test channel, but after fighting with Final Cut Pro, I'm now going to get that done for you. The bonus here, if you look down in the description, you can find the checklist, the air brake checklist over at the Smart Drive Test website, and you can head over there and pick that up, and as well lots of other great information for CDL air brakes as well. Now, air brakes are not that much different from the brakes that are in your car. Actually, the 3 brake systems that are in an air brake system are exactly the same as what's in your car. You have a parking brake, you have a service brake, which is the brake pedal, and then if you're going up and down the road and for whatever reason you lose your service brakes, you can use the parking brake as an emergency brake, and you simply pull up on it and apply the brakes. Now, obviously, some of us can do some drifting as well with the parking brake, and it is often done, but for the most part, we use it as an emergency brake. So we have 3 types of brakes. We have a service brake, which is the brake pedal, we have a parking brake, and then we have a parking brake, and we have an emergency brake. And air brake systems have exactly the same. They have a service brake, which is the brake pedal going up and down the road. Parking brake, you exhaust the air from the system, and the springs apply the brakes and holds the vehicle indefinitely. And if you lose air while going up and down the road, the parking brakes will act as an emergency brake. So it's the same principle as what's in a hydraulic brake system. The main component of an air brake system is the brake chamber. The brake chamber converts air pressure to strong mechanical force, and it is the fundamental component of an air brake system. And one of the ways to think of a brake chamber converting air pressure into mechanical force is the same thing as on an excavator, a digger with the hydraulic rams, is that the hydraulic rams convert hydraulic pressure, fluid pressure, into mechanical force so it can be used to move things around, buckets and those types of things. So it's the same thing. So air pressure and the spring brake, or the brake chamber converts air pressure into strong mechanical force, and then the opposing force of that is spring. So it's sort of the same thing as what happens in a hydraulic brake system, and we can talk a little bit more of that if you have questions in the question and answer period. Now, basically, what is a brake? Essentially, you see the picture up at the top with the lever and the block of wood pressing against the wheel, and it creates friction, and friction is the resistance of movement between 2 objects, and essentially what happens is you slow the vehicle. The byproduct of friction, obviously, is heat, and interestingly enough, the technology has changed a little bit in terms of brakes, but brakes are still essentially the same thing. You basically have 2 surfaces rubbing against each other, creating friction, which slows the vehicle, and the byproduct of that is heat. And heat, or what's called brake fade, is the only failing of any brake system, regardless of whether it's a air brake system, whether it's a hydraulic brake system. You still have the byproduct of heat, and if you use the brakes enough, you can cause the brakes to fail by overheating them, and when they overheat, they simply will not work anymore. And I've actually done this on my Honda with a trailer coming down a hill, using the brakes too much and overheating the brakes, and experience brake fade. Some of the basic components in an air brake system are air lines, compressors and governors, hoses, brake chambers, slack adjusters, and foundation brakes. And the foundation brakes are all of the components at the wheel that make the brakes work and allow the brakes to bring the vehicle to slow it down, or either to bring it to a stop. And there's 4 kinds of foundation brakes. There are disc brakes, drum brakes or S-cam brakes, air over hydraulic brakes, air over hydraulic brakes, and then there are wedge brakes. Now, air over hydraulic and wedge brakes are more or less gone from the system, so really the only 2 foundation brakes you're going to encounter in this day and age are drum brakes or disc brakes. Now, a lot of people are led to believe that air brakes are prone to failure, especially after they go through one of the air brake courses in the United States of America or in Canada, because we're still teaching a 40-year-old air brake course, and many people are led to believe that air brakes will fail at any time. This is simply not true. As well, we still have most of the emergency runaway lanes in mountainous areas and hills and those types of things, which again leads people to believe that air brakes are going to fail at any time. All braking systems, regardless of whether it's an air brake system or a hydraulic system, are divided into a primary and secondary system. So on your car, the front brakes are divided from the rear brakes, and they work independently of each other. If you pull the cover off the master cylinder, look in there, there's actually 2 chambers in there. One's for the front, one's for the rear. So it's unlikely that the brakes on your vehicle and your passenger vehicle are going to fail. It's the same thing with an air brake system. It's divided into 2 independent subsystems, the front and the rear. And the primary system is everything behind the driver, and the secondary system is everything in front of the driver. So it's very unlikely that air brake systems will ever fail, simply because of this division of the system into 2 independent subsystems. Now, as I said, regardless of whether it's an air brake system or a hydraulic brake system, all braking systems are prone to brake fade. And brake fade is when you overheat the brakes, usually when you're going downhill on a long descent and overusing the brakes. And this is prone to drum brakes. What happens is that the drum will expand away from the shoes, and the shoes will no longer come in contact with the brake drums, and you lose braking force, and eventually the brakes will fail altogether. Oftentimes when you heat them up that much, there's fire and there's leprechauns chasing you down the road, roasting, wanting to roast marshmallows and those types of things. And this is one of the reasons that we use disc brakes on high-end vehicles, motorcycles and sports cars and those types of things. And they're beginning to make inroads into the trucking industry, because disc brakes are not prone to brake fade in the way that drum brakes are. And actually, when you heat up drum brakes, they become more aggressive as opposed to prone to failure. Now, you will not experience brake fade in this day and age if you get into the proper gear in a large vehicle before going down over the top of the hill. If you have the engine brake or auxiliary brake on full, for those of you in Europe and other places in the world, some of those will have hydraulic driveline retarders or electric driveline retarders, which will also work as an auxiliary braking force, and I've heard that these are exceptionally good at providing braking force. Same thing with engine brakes in this day and age. They're extremely quiet and they're extremely effective. So oftentimes if you're going down over a hill and you get into fifth low, if you're running tandem on a hill that's less than 10% and you're running less than 80,000, that Jake brake's going to hold that vehicle going down the hill very well. Now, in-cab checks, and this was the video that I released this week. If you look at the front of the Smart Drive Test YouTube channel here, you'll see the video that'll go over the in-cab checks. And essentially what I went through was different CDL manuals in the States, showed you how easy it was to search those and find these numbers, because these numbers will vary slightly, but it doesn't matter where in North America you take your CDL test. All of the tests in the cab are the same. You're going to test the governor, the maximum and minimum setting. You're going to test the low air warning, that you're going to test that the emergency brakes apply between above 20 pounds per square inch. You're going to do a compressor test or build-up test, and then you're going to build to maximum pressure, and you're going to do a leak test to test the integrity of the air brake system. So it doesn't matter where you are in North America, these 5 tests are the same. A couple of jurisdictions, I think it's Saskatchewan, I'll just have to recheck that again, but they make you check that the trailer air supply closes above 50, and a couple of places do this, and it's just kind of weird, and I just think, why do you even bother? But it's something that you'll need to look for when you're doing your CDL test wherever you are in the world. Now, if you're getting a tractor trailer license, most places I know here in BC and most of the states in the US are going to make you do trailers as well. The benefit of trailers the good thing about trailers is that most of the components are the same. All of the airlines, foundation brakes and whatnot. All trucks designed to pull trailers, or all vehicles designed to pull trailers rather, will have a tractor protection system. And just to screw you up royally, the tractor protection system consists of 2 valves. the tractor protection valve, and the trailer air supply valve, the 8-sided red valve on the dash inside the truck. The tractor protection system consists of 2 valves. So just repeat here. The tractor protection system consists of the tractor protection valve and the trailer air supply valve. So you need to test that system if you're getting a tractor trailer license or are driving a unit that you're going to be towing a trailer that's fitted with air brakes. So you're going to have to test that the emergency brakes applied. You're going to have to test that the air brakes are applied. And once the air is shut off to the trailer, you're going to have to make sure there's no leaking from the air lines in the unit. All right, so as I said, the in-cab worksheet, I'll email it to you. Just go over and sign up over at the Smart Drive Test website, and you can find the link down in the description there, and that will help you out with the 5 tests that you have to do for the purposes of passing your CDL air brake test. So just to quickly recap, service, emergency brakes, and parking brakes. The same brakes that you have on your passenger vehicle are the same brakes that you have in an air brake fitted vehicle, and this will clear up some of the confusion for students. And as well, Corey will put the video up for you. Air Brakes Explained Simply. I'll go over this information in more detail, and as well, that video is on the table for being redone, because I feel that I can do that video a bit better and get those concepts across to you. Now, some students, especially when they take air brake courses, are led to believe that spring brakes are a different braking system on a air brake equipped vehicle. No. 1 brake, 2 power sources, air pressure and spring pressure. Those are the 2 ways that we apply the brakes on an air brake equipped vehicle. Spring pressure or air pressure. Brake chambers are the fundamental components in an air brake system because they convert air pressure into strong mechanical force. You have a number of valves throughout the system, and you have to be aware what the names of the valves are, which can be incredibly confusing and just boggled your mind. And one of the things about the Air Brakes Explained Simply manual that I've recently released, it has a list of valves in there and tells you what each one of them does and where it is located on the vehicle. Fail-safes, there are numerous fail-safes on an air brake system, and in this day and age, it is unlikely that they're going to fail. The only failing of an air brake system is brake fade. And if you're going to do a CDL air brake course, you're going to have to do trailers as well. Fortunately, most of the components on an air brake system for trailers are going to be the same as they are on the truck or bus, so that's going to be fairly easy for you. So that's a quick overview of air brakes, and if we have any more questions, we can simply talk about that here in the questions. And just popping back over here and getting going again, and we'll answer any questions that you have. So there we go. Okay, Big Money Boss, all the best. Thanks for showing up and dropping in and saying hi. That's really great. Zacharias, I learned a lot. Thank you so much. You are most welcome. We're glad that we can help out. Janet, how are you there in Ontario? That's really great that you tuned in. Kyle Crasto. Hello, Kyle. How are you, my friend? Kyle has been around for a long time. Kyle was the one that I did the video, the mock winter driving test. So Kyle, the last time I heard, Kyle, you were at the University of Toronto. Are you still there at U of T? Excellent. Okay. Marith, which gear is the safest to go downhill? If you're in a big truck, 5th gear low. If you're running less than 80,000 pounds, you're running tandem, and the hill is less than 10% grade, then you want to be in 5th low and with the Jake brake on high, and you should be fine. 380, excellent, there we go. So that's essentially what that is. What else we got here? So Mike is tuning in from Illinois, LaSalle. June, great results from your tips about calling trucking companies. Thank you very much. That is excellent, June. We're glad to help you out there. So what kinds of information were you able to get there, June, in terms of looking for a job as a truck or bus driver? Because that, and what I was telling June there last week was for anybody who's looking for a job as a bus or truck driver is that you want to call trucking companies. You want to get on the phone, you want to talk to them, you say, listen, I'm going to truck driving school. Even before you finish truck driving school, get on the phone and start talking to these people and say, listen, I'm going to truck driving school right now. I'm looking for a job as a tractor trailer driver. I want to drive regional. I want to drive long haul. I want to drive local. Figure out whatever you want to do, whether you want to drive local, whether you want to drive long haul, or you want to drive regional. Talk to these people. They're going to say yes, no, we'll have a position for you. Some of these companies are really hungry for drivers, so they'll take you on without any experience. But I'm going to say to you, as a new driver coming out of truck driving school, it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to get your first job. You have to do a lot of work. You have to do this cold calling that I suggested to June last week. You have to get on the phone and talk to these people. And when these people say, no, I don't have a job for you right now, we're not hiring anybody right now, don't hang up the phone at that point, okay? Say to that person on the phone, say, listen, do you know anybody else that I could phone that might be hiring? And this is not just applicable for drivers, for bus and truck drivers. This is applicable for anybody who's trying to get a job. Say to the person on the other end of the phone, listen, do you know anybody else that might be hiring that I could talk to? So always ask them that question. And then at the end of the question, don't just leave it there. Also say to them, after they give you the information of other people that you might talk to in order to get a job as a truck or bus driver, say to them, can I call you back in a month? And mark it on your calendar. Put it in your phone that you need to call back, because people resign, people quit, emergencies come up, people die, people move on. So make sure that you call them back. And I'll tell you a story about that. Years ago, when I was trying to get my first job as a driving instructor, working as a safety officer, because lots of driving instructors go on to be safety officers in trucking companies and large fleets. And there was this company that I wanted to work for, and I called them on month 1, I called them on month 2, I called them on month 3. They had exactly the job that I was looking for in terms of being a safety officer in a fairly large trucking fleet, probably 150 trucks, and I wanted to work for them. They were a great company. So called them on month 1, called them on month 2, called them on month 3, and I'm like, oh, it's not going to work out. What happens on month 5? Month 5, the exact company that I was working for, the advertisement appears in the paper that they're looking for a traffic safety officer. Whereas had I continued to phone them back, they probably would have given me the job, because when the advertisement for the job goes into the paper, the person, whoever was assigned the responsibility of hiring the people and doing the selection, they're inundated. They get 300 applications. And it's just a daunting, they're just like, oh my God, oh, look at this crap. It's extra work for them. Whereas if you're on the phone and you're calling them and you say, listen, this is the job I want, this is the job I want, and then finally the job comes up, they're going to hire you in a heartbeat, especially if you got motivation and you are talking to them. Because if you're doing what you need to do to get the job, you're motivated. They can train you. They're more than willing to train you, especially if you got motivation and desire to work. So make sure that you call back. All right. Viper, when you do the test, does the test facility have the truck and trailer, or do you have somehow get your own? No, Viper, you have to get your own truck and trailer. The testing center does not provide the truck and trailer. And unfortunately, Viper, the other thing is, if you go to a truck driving school and you use their equipment, most of the time it's not just an hour. Like, they're just not going to rent you a truck and trailer to go and do the road test. Unfortunately, they're going to do an evaluation on you. They're going to see whether you're ready or not. My suggestion in this day and age is, if you're going to go for a truck driving license, you need to go to truck driving school. It's just what I tell students, because truck driving schools teach people how to pass a road test, and there's a very specific skill set that you need in order to be able to pass that road test. So my suggestion and my counsel is that you go to truck driving school. And the other thing is that when you go for the license, what I was going to say was they're not just going to give you it for the 2 hours that it takes you to do the test. They're going to give you the truck for 4 or 5 hours, and they're going to charge you for 4 hours to go and take a test, which is fairly lengthy, because it's about $1,000, or not $1,000, sorry, $500, because most trucking schools here in Canada run about $110, $125 an hour, okay, to use the truck. All right, Kyle, I'm great. No, actually, I decided I wanted to switch programs and have changed universities. So you've gone to York University, or are you at a different university, Kyle? 380 gears for descending grades would vary depending on transmission, gearing, engine, and weight. And it does 380 for the most part, but most transmissions, if you're in 5 low and less than 80,000 pounds on a grade that's less than 10%, 5th low is usually going to work for you for that configuration. So grade less than 10%, truck less than 80,000 pounds on a tandem in 5th gear low. So if you got a 9-speed, you got a 10-speed, you got a 13-speed, 18-speed, as long as you're in 5th low with the Jake brake on high, most of the time, 99% of the time, that is going to work for you. Now, if you're on a steeper grade, more than 10%, more than 80,000 pounds, you're running a Tridem or you're running Super Bs, then you're going to probably be down in fourth. You might even be down in third, depending on your truck and trailer. Now, once you get used to that, obviously, and you start knowing the hills that you're running, you start knowing the equipment that you're running, you know how much weight you got on it, then obviously you can go a little bit faster in those types of things. But for the most part, that's going to work out for you. And we go over all of that step by step in the Air Brakes Explained Simply for those of you looking for the manual possibility for that. And as well, the most of the manuals, the CDL manuals that you're going to find in North America are going to say when you go down the hill in 1 to 2 gears lower than what it took you to climb the hill. Now that's great advice and it usually works, but the problem is that in many places you're not going to actually go up a hill to go down the hill. Here in Vernon, British Columbia, when you drive to Kamloops, you're going to go over the Monte Creek Hill and you just come along on the flat and then you go down. There's no uphill to go downhill. So know that as well. Excellent. There you go. So Kyle's at York University. Okay, June. I got a couple of pre-hires. I asked about average miles, riders, pet programs, how they conduct orientation, also what they do provide, food, lodging, transportation. A lot of them were glad to answer questions. A few did not pick up, and some were old numbers. I still have more calls to place next week. No, that sounds really great, and it sounds like, June, you're also asking the right questions. And when you're asking the right questions, that just puts you up in their thinking in terms of desirability to hire you. The other, there was one other piece that I was gonna say to you as well, June. Just let me think about it here for a second. Oh, right. The piece that I was going to say to you, June, was make sure the other thing you can do, and you're probably already doing this because it sounds like you're really informed in what you're doing. The other piece is to go on to their website and have a look at their website. I was on some trucking company's website a couple of weeks ago, and they hadn't updated the website in like 5 years. I was like, that's pretty bad in this day and age that you're not updating your website for 5 years, because I mean in this day and age it's so easy to update websites. If they're not updating their website in 5 years, what else are they not updating? That's my question in my head that kind of comes to mind. So the other thing about doing research on companies, and this goes for not just for finding a job as a truck or bus driver, this also goes for any job. You can research the company on the internet, and when you research the company, you can be more informed in terms of the questions you're going to ask the person that you're talking to on the phone. And the other thing that June said there, most of these people are more than happy to answer questions and help you out and get you going. So that might help you to get over some of the trepidation of actually calling these companies and saying, listen, I'm looking for a job, can you help me out? People are more than happy to help you out, and they are not going to get on the phone and they're not going to have a go at you. I mean, unless they're having a bad day. But in my experience of cold calling, I've never found that people have not. I've found that people have always been willing to help, and they've always been warm and cordial. And the other thing is the other thing I suggest too, if somebody's exceptionally helpful, find their address and send them a thank you note. Email them or send them a hard copy of a thank you note. That really goes a long way to getting you a job as well. Okay. And exactly what June said here. Each call made me less nervous and more confident, which also helped. And yes, because you find out that people are willing to help you out. They're not going to yell at you. They're not going to say, oh, you're a goofball. What are you doing calling me? You're wasting my time. No, people are actually very nice, and they really help you out. And the more you do it, the more people, the more you want to do it, because you're going to get to where you need to be, and it's the best way to get a job. Okay, Island Girl, after I finish with receiving my CDL license, will I need to continue training? You won't need to continue training. Now, it just clicked, Shamil. Your Island Girl, and I apologize about that. There's a lot going on in the live stream. But Shamil, yes, you do want to continue training, because, and I'll just explain this to you, Shamil. There's always things in the trucking industry that are always changing. When I went back to training a few years ago, air brakes had changed. Most of the air brake systems on modern trucks now are all ADIS systems, which is Air Dryer Integrated System. ADIS is what it stands for. It stands for Air Dryer Integrated System, which is essentially what it means is that all the air brake systems no longer have wet tanks on them. And the reason they don't have wet tanks on them is because the air dryer is so effective in removing moisture and other contaminants from the system that they just got rid of it. They didn't need it anymore. Now, the other thing that I'd sort of heard about trucks as well was they were beginning to lose the hand valve as well because they don't need it anymore, because you don't need to apply the trailer brakes independently of the tractor. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not. Maybe 380 or some other smart drivers can comment in the comments below about the fact whether they've driven trucks that don't have hand valves on them to apply the service brakes independently of the truck. But that's something else that's happening as well in the industry. And it's just, you know, there's things changing in the industry all the time, and I'm learning stuff all the time from smart drivers who are making comments on the channel. I'm learning stuff from reading the manuals and those types of things. So, you know, it's part of being an instructor, it's part of being a driver, it's part of being a professional CDL holder, that things in the industry are always changing, and we're trying to figure out how to be better. So yes, you're always going to be doing professional development. You're always going to be learning more. And of course, you can come here to the Smart Drive Test channel, and we'll help you out as well. So John is here from London, Ontario. Yes, I lived in London for a long time, and I am an alumni of the University of Western Ontario. Viper, call me G. That also means Class 1 license, air brake endorsement test. There's a few companies here in Penticton that are looking for drivers but require Class 1 preferred. Yes. And here's the other piece, and Viper, you just raised an excellent point about Class 1, which is here in British Columbia, it's tractor trailer. Some places it's Class A, but for the most part, most of North America, it's Class 1 or Class A license for tractor trailer license. If you are thinking about going to truck driving school, I strongly encourage you to consider getting a tractor trailer license, getting your Class 1 license, as opposed to getting a Class 3, which is just a single unit, like a dump truck or whatnot. And the reason I say that is if you go to work, say for an aggregate company, a dump truck company, they have mostly dump trucks, right? So you only need a Class 3 license, you only need a Class D license, you need a single unit, you know, Air Brakes CDL license. The problem is that they have 3 trucks that pull pups. When you have a dump truck that have 3 pups on them, which is a trailer on the back of a dump truck, now you need a Class 1 license to pull that truck. Within the fleet, the dispatchers, whoever responsible for scheduling and putting drivers on, when somebody's sick, so say Tom drives one of those trucks every day, so Tom gets sick, now all of a sudden they got to find a replacement driver to put on that truck and pup, but they need a Class 1 driver, right? So they're going to go down the list, and in recent years they've had the luxury of just hiring the best drivers that they can find. So most of the time they're just going to hire Class 1 drivers, because instead of going down the list and saying, oh, Peter can't do it and John can't drive it, you know, somebody else has got a Class 3, everybody's got a Class A. They just hire Class 1 drivers, despite the fact that they've got 50 dump trucks and only 3 trucks that pull trailers. It's so much easier for them to find a replacement driver if all of the drivers have Class A licenses. So I'm going to strongly encourage you that if you're thinking about going to truck driving school, get your tractor trailer license. Yes, it's going to cost you a little bit more. Yes, it's going to take you a little bit longer, but in the end, your return on investment and your ability to get a job is going to be so much easier than it is with trying to get a job as with just a Class 3 or a Class D license. So that's what I encourage you. As well, when you go to truck driving school, 80% of the information you're going to learn to drive a dump truck is the same as what you need for tractor trailer. The only thing that's a little more difficult with a tractor trailer is getting the unit around town and those types of things, because obviously it's bigger, you got a trailer and those types of things, and so it can be a little more complicated when you're driving trucks and those types of things. Okay, 380. So brand new trucks have them. I can't recall a truck that didn't have one. I understand the argument for removing them, but for trailer brake checks, tug checks, and jackknife corrections, I like. Yes, and 380, I would tend to agree with you as a driver. It would just be kind of weird not having the being able to apply the trailer brakes independently of the trailer brakes independently of the truck, was what I was trying to say. And I've heard that there have been some trucks, but like you, I've never seen any trucks that haven't had the hand valve on it. They continue to produce them despite that information, you know. Okay. Yes, so I totally agree on that end of it. Okay, so we're getting half an hour here. We don't have too many more questions. One other thing that I will talk to you about just quickly is that if you're going to go to truck driving school, I'll just make this last point. If anybody has questions, if you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from in the world, what class of license you're going for. We're certainly going to answer any questions that drivers have about passing a road test, especially if you're going for your car license and have that coming up soon and those types of things. I'm not sure. We must be coming up to exam period here in the universities and types of things because the channel has kind of quieted down a little bit after the holiday rush. But if you have any questions about your road test and passenger vehicles and those types of things, I'll be more than happy to answer those as well. Now, just quickly going over the components of going to truck driving school and getting a truck driver's license. The 5 components that you're going to deal with. Notice the 5 theme here, the 5 in-cab checks, the 5 themes for the 5 components that you need to learn on the tractor trailer course. So if you go to truck driving school, there's 5 components. 3 of them are major. Turning, shifting, pre-trip inspection. Those are your 3 big components that you're going to need to do at a truck driving school. So you need to be able to turn the vehicle and maneuver that vehicle in and around a city. And you know, one of the ironies that I used to tell students is that the trailer drives the truck, not the truck, which is weird because you're the driver sitting in front of the trailer, but that thing, that 53 feet sitting behind you, is what's actually determining where the unit goes. The other thing I used to say to students was the truck can go anywhere on the road just as long as the trailer stays within its lane. Then you're all good. Okay? So turning, shifting. The next thing you have to learn is have to learn how to shift a big truck, and it's a non-synchronous transmission. So most places are going to need either get you to learn how to double clutch, which I recommend for new drivers. After you get your license, then you can dispense with the clutch if you want to. But I do recommend that you highly learn how to do that because once you use the clutch and you double clutch, the transmission's a little more forgiving. Excuse me. But the problem with shifting and learning how to shift a non-synchronous transmission is that it takes up all of the new students' energy is to shift that transmission. So unfortunately, the shifting eclipses the turning and moving the vehicle around town and those types of things. The next thing you have to learn is pre-trip inspection. Pre-trip inspection, you have 45 minutes for a tractor trailer unit when you go for your license test to do that pre-trip inspection on the unit. So those are the 3 big things that you need to learn. The next 2 things you need to learn are coupling and uncoupling the trailer. And as I tell students, it's easy to unhook and hook up a semi-trailer. It's also easy to screw up. So make sure that you have your your sequence in place is what I was trying to say. So when you hook up PDA, pin, dollies, airline, and when you unhook, LAP, lap, landing gear, airlines, pin, and do it in that order every time. You won't drop the trailer on the ground. You won't rip the airlines off. And, you know, because companies get very excited when you rip the airlines off or you drop the trailer on the ground. So don't do that. And then the last thing, depending on the license test center where you go to take your test, is backing up. Some places it's 50 feet in a straight line, which is dead easy. Other ones, like Victoria, British Columbia here, make you parallel park. And if you have to parallel park, that tends to be a bit more daunting for students. So you need quite a bit more practice to be able to do that for the purposes of passing your CDL road test. Okay, so that's essentially the 5 components that you're going to do if you do decide to go to truck driving school. So turning, shifting, pre-trip inspection, those are the big 3, and then backing and coupling for your tractor trailer license. And for the first 3 or 4 days, it's going to be incredibly overwhelming because there's no shallow end when it comes to learning how to driving a truck, and you're just going to get thrown into the deep end. And when you get thrown into the deep end, it's just going to be incredibly overwhelming. But just hang in there for the first three or 4 days, and after the first 3 or 4 days, it's all going to start to be wash, rinse, repeat. And it's going to be a lot easier after that because you're just going to be doing the same thing over and over again. Okay? Sam, my friend Sam from Rookie Auto Driving School in the Bronx is here. Oh, this is good. What's up, guys? Talking about air brakes and tractor trailers today, Sam. Left lane, waiting for my trainer in Springfield, Missouri. Excellent left lane. That's great. Are you going for left lane or are you going for a tractor trailer license? Krista, how do you stay focused driving and not worry when there's tailgaters? Okay, so one of the things you want to do, Krista, when you're driving and you want to focus is initially when you start driving, Krista, just go for 10-minute periods or 15-minute periods, however long that you can go, and then take a quick break, get out, walk around the vehicle, and then go back and drive again for a few minutes. Don't try and drive for an hour straight, especially once you get started if you're having difficulty with focusing and those types of things. And if you have tailgaters, because you're learning how to drive, you have to do the speed limit, so therefore you're going to have tailgaters behind you. All you need to do, Krista, is just increase the space in front of your vehicle. That way you don't have to brake aggressively. And when you don't have to brake aggressively, you can drive for you and that person who's tailgating you behind as well. So just increase your distance in front, and that will help you out in terms of getting going and kind of relaxing a little bit. And then, obviously remember to breathe as well. In through the nose, all the way to your navel, and then out through your mouth. So and that's going to help you. That's going to force your body to relax. So do that as well. Okay. So left lane, you're doing tractor trailer, so that's excellent. You're waiting for your trainer there in Springfield, Missouri. That's excellent. So have lots of fun doing that and learning how to get your CDL license. It's great fun in tractor trailer driving school. And us instructors have a bit of fun too, because we kind of toy with students a little bit. I know I used to. Krista, you're most welcome. Sam, do you teach in front of a class full of students like I do when I teach the pre-licensing course? Sam, I haven't taught in front of a classroom. When was the last time I taught? Oh, the last time I taught in front of a classroom, I got hired by the Highway Through Hell crew here in Hope, British Columbia, to do winter driver training. So that was the last time I did it. But other than that, I don't teach in front of a classroom for the most part. All of my stuff here now is online. So yeah, and oddly enough, I've been struggling a little bit with that of late. And just getting in front of the camera and doing more videos. And I know I've got tons of videos to do, but it's been a real struggle. I don't know, maybe it's just part of the growth I'm doing here with YouTube and whatnot, but it's kind of happened a little bit. So excellent. That's great, Sam. And Sam, is there anything that you're looking for in terms of videos? Anything that I could improve? I know some of those road sign videos are pretty old. Some of them I could tune up a little bit and probably make them a bit more concise. If you have any feedback at all, Sam, by all means let me know, and I'll be more than happy to work on those for you. Okay, so and again, if you're tuning in, you're watching on the replay, consider subscribing to Smart Drive Test. Smart Drive Test helps new drivers get a license, veteran drivers to remain crash-free, and CDL drivers to start a career as a truck or bus driver. So consider subscribing, hit the bell, get instant notification when I get the videos up for you as well. Hit that thumbs up button. And if you have any suggestions or any videos that you would like to see, let me know, because 54 videos this year. I've made a New Year's resolution to get 2 videos up a week. Now, I know I'm a little behind here, but last week I was fighting with my video editing software. Not fighting, but learning how to use it to become a videographer and become better at at making videos and getting them up, because it can take a lot of time to put a video together, especially once you start getting a lot of B-roll and those types of things and learning more and more techniques that you can do to make your videos better. And that's basically what I'm trying to do, is make my videos as good as I can for you. So Shamil, you need to become you want to become a moderator here on the channel. That would be really great. You could help out. So yeah, so Sam, if you want any of those videos amended or make them better and get them updated, we can certainly do that and help you out with all of that. And if you have any more content that you would like to see or anything that I can help you with, by all means let me know, and we'll be happy to help you out with that. Alright, so we're getting up to 43 minutes here, and I think most of the questions have been answered here, so we're going to wind up here and get to the end here. And yes, if you look down in the description there as well, for those of you going for a road test, you'll find Pass Your Road Test First Time checklist over there, as well as the air brake checklist, and both of those will help you to be successful in passing your road test, getting your CDL air brakes, and consider purchasing the CDL Air Brake manual over there. Air Brakes Explained Simply. I take complicated information and present it to you simply so that you can understand and be successful in getting your CDL license. And as well, consider Pass Your Road Test First Time. It's a course guaranteed to help you pass your road test first time. So excellent. Thank you so much for that compliment, Sam. Congratulations to everybody who's passed a road test in the last week, and good luck to anybody who's taking a road test in the coming week, and we'll see you next week. And again, just to remind you, I have moved the live feed to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so that for those of you on the East Coast there, that's going to be 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. on Sundays. I moved it up here a little bit just to make it a little bit earlier for those of you on the East Coast and make it more accessible. And again, if you have any suggestions, anything that you want to have, I'm more than happy to do that for you and get those videos up for you. So I'm Rick with Smart Drive Test. Thanks very much for watching, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.